Hello, everybody. Peter Paccone here today with Victoria Montez. That's AP Lit teacher Victoria Montez. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited, Victoria. I'm a AP Social Studies teacher and big fan of how Class Companion works in all the AP Social Studies classes. But I can't wait to hear how you think and how you are using Class Companion in one of the two AP Lit courses. Welcome, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Peter. My journey to Class Companion started with our social studies teacher. My campus U.S. government teacher came up to me one day and was like, "Hey, have you tried this program? It helps the kids with their scoring. It helps them with FRQs." And I told him, "I don't have time for that, but thanks for letting me know." And now I'm an avid user of it. It has helped me a lot with my students, particularly with test prep and review. And it started with my social studies teacher, or campus, excuse me.
How long ago was that you got started?
I think last year, sometime in either August or September. It was pretty early on, and I, much like maybe people have this belief in AI in the classroom, it's going to take too long to learn. It's going to take too long to adapt. Dedicated a summer, not even a summer, maybe a couple of hours, especially when we were back to school. And now it's an everyday use in my classroom, especially now that we're getting ready for test prep. Definitely a tool. I definitely helps the students improve. Essential, definitely, especially if I want my students to push themselves for the rigor, to see where they're at, and again, helping them with test prep, especially with 23 days away from the exam.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want you to go into detail all about that. But if you don't mind, first, just tell us a little bit about your journey. I'd like to start all my webinars off this way, your journey to an AP Lit teaching position, and then a little bit about your school, if you would.
Thank you. So I started AP Literature at my current campus, Idea Public Schools, with their first graduating class. I was very blessed with our first group of seniors, very new to teaching. I had previously, of course, taken AP Literature in my high school. At the time I was in my master's for AP Literature and Cultural Studies at our local university. So the students were learning, I was learning. It was a nice journey, and that was before any updates to the AP, CED, etc. It was a mess, honestly. Me jumping into teaching it, the previous rubrics, the previous organization of the course was kind of, here's some suggested text, here's some past exams, good luck. And over these past couple of years, I've been very fortunate to stay with my campus and grow with our senior group, and likewise grow with the AP exam as well. I'm not by all means experienced in the previous exam with the 9-point rubric, but the change in 2019 has really helped me learn my content, grow my content. And about 4 years ago, about halfway through my AP Literature education teaching, I also became an AP reader, and that has just helped me phenomenally. I don't mean to use this platform to promote it, but any AP teachers that are looking to better themselves as well, AP reading is just truly the best way to do that. I've been able to hone that in with this digital tool as well to help my students refine my own teaching, refine their writing for this pretty rigorous exam, and just what is AP looking for? How can I still prepare them for college in that term, and be better people in the digital space and in the regular space? Because by all means, they're seniors, but they're just tall 6th graders.
Yeah. Your school and your class, number of sections, demographics. You want to comment on that for a second?
Pretty homogenous group, primarily Mexican American students. Occasionally we'll have some other students of color. Idea Public Schools is a pretty small charter school in Texas, has been around since 2001. My class size, I'm very fortunate. I will never complain about my class size. I currently teach about 70 seniors.
Wow.
About 70 seniors. 68 of those are in my AP Literature course. I'm miscounting, I apologize. Some of them are in my dual enrollment course. And of course, seniors. I don't teach any juniors. I used to teach both when they both commingled in the dual enrollment class. But for the most part, our campus is pretty small. We only have one teacher per course, so I'm just the one AP Literature teacher. My AP Lang teacher is Miss Bohannon. She teaches 11th grade. Yep,
Lisa.
shout out to her.
Yeah.
definitely for
And Mary's
also,
with us tonight. She's in the comments there. Yeah.
yeah, definitely both my leaders. Marisol was actually my course leader when I first started. She definitely helped me grow and just get a sense of what I was getting into AP wise and just school wise. So very lucky to have a very small student body and a very close knit campus. I don't have to venture far off to ask any questions. It's just down the hall, 2 doors to the left.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to give you a chance now to show us what you do with Class Companion. So go ahead and call up your dashboard there. But just as an intro, so I'm assuming that you're using it for, well, heck, let me have you answer that question. How are you using it? Sure. Yeah.
I primarily use it after exams to have students revise their essays in real time. So these students will take a unit exam or
Huh.
a full scale AP exam. We do 2 full scale exams in the winter and then in the spring. And I primarily use Class Companion to help them revise to get them to the next highest score. Again, at first, I primarily used it in a similar capacity, but less often. The students would maybe get 1 or 2 essays a quarter on there, versus now I'm using it for exit tickets. I'm using it
Oh.
for full lessons on there. It's still very much for the test prep to get the students to interact with the rubric, try to get to the next highest score, and to refine a little bit more of the skills that I've noticed from our exams that they need. So definitely test prep and lessons. It's been great for lessons. Like I'll maybe just give them a handout with maybe some general notes, but everything I need is on Class Companion.
I'm going to give you a chance to show that to us. So I've brought your desktop up onto the page here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and walk us through it a little bit.
So I'm going to highlight particularly my 4th period class. Shout out to them. They are my most, I want to say heterogeneous, but I hope anybody out there that's science coded won't correct me on that too much. It's the class that I have the most varied levels of students. I have some students that are scoring high or excuse me, trending to score pretty high, around a 4 or 5 on the AP exam. And I have some students in the middle who are at a good 2 to 3 range, on the verge of passing. Or likewise, some struggling students that maybe struggle with comprehension, and we're more focused on getting to understanding the story, getting to the essay basics. So I do like Class Companion primarily because I can reach all of my students whatever level they're at. So I want to particularly highlight this assignment that we just had this past week, and very much related to test prep, trying my best to get these last couple of skills and refining them, sharpening them for all of my students across the board, developing commentary and connecting their evidence to a thesis. So
Victoria, if I could just interrupt for a second, did you create this assignment yourself, or was it on Class Companion in the content library? Oh, I recognize the picture. Yeah.
I created it. We work with a group called NIMSY. They had a lesson that was laid out for teachers on suggestions. I didn't find it in the library, but it was easy for me to adapt it. I think I had the PDF. I shared it.
So could we, if you don't mind, could we go back just for 1 second, go back to your home page, your dashboard. So click on your class, if you will. This is, I just want to get some idea. This is the one, right? So now how did you create, if you could just walk us through it, you had a lesson, right? So now you're in your class. How do you do that? How did you do that?
So of course I go to the class, definitely want to separate my AP students from my dual enrollment, because my dual enrollment students would have a heart attack if they looked at the timing on the AP essays. I will go to add assignment.
Okay, so if we could right there just for a second, for those who are relative to new to this. So you clicked on go for an assignment, and up comes this box with 3 choices: generate with AI, import, and find in content library. Now, as a user of Class Companion, you're importing your already existing lesson, correct?
Yes.
That's generally how you're.
Yes, I'll generally import it from my files, pull up the PDF, and it'll adjust it. I will use the AI component a little bit more for the rubric, especially fine-tuning it to specifically I want the students to focus on, or adjust it so that way it meets all of my students' needs.
And have you ever used lessons out of the content library?
Yes, I have found some pretty good ones on poetry. I have found some good ones, and I will admit I'm very picky when it comes to the rubric, because I want to make sure the students are, meeting those levels. It's not too generous. My first qualm when I started with Class Companion was it was giving crazy scores to students, and I was like, let's refine this a little bit. But the more I've adjusted it, the better I've seen it tailored to the students, or excuse me, like give a better analysis and a more accurate one. Because I definitely want the students to know where they're at and not a realistic view of it. And I feel like the rubrics have come a long way, especially now that I've gone through it and what I've seen from other teachers loading their content here.
Didn't mean to derail you. Please go back to the assignment, your own assignment that you uploaded, and walk us through that. Let's see what you're doing. I'm curious.
Yes, definitely. And I'm pretty proud of my students. We could work on the submissions a little bit more. Timing is my next step with them preparing for the exam. So for this particular assignment, they're pretty good about thesis across the board. My really high students can come up with a fantastic thesis. My mid students can come up with a pretty workable one, and even my students that struggle with poetry, with short story, can differentiate and add a defensible component there. So I took this particular assignment that I've had previously with our NIMSY program, and it's focusing on a short passage about Kathy and Adam from John Steinbeck's The East of Eden. So I will admit the first part is purely for me just a quote to kind of give the students a sense of who Kathy is. We're working also on short story. That's one of my students' area of need, reading a story quickly under the time focus. So I'll also time this assignment. It stresses the students out a bit, but I want them to feel the pressure of the AP exam. I want them to feel that urgency a little bit more. So I like that Class Companion has a timer. The first thing the students will say was, "Miss, this is timed." And I'm like, yeah, so let's go through this quickly, guys. So I like it because, start off with just a general quote, a little area of interest, a cultural component to get the students to think about the time that East of Eden takes place, and starting off general questions. What do you notice? What does it make you think? And I'll have the students fill out this, kind of give them this as a bell ringer or a start of class. And what is their general impression of the family? What do they think about this starting off? And my students have a love-hate relationship with the submission of Class Companion, because I'll tell them, just submit it, guys. We're just trying to get a baseline. How can we improve? They want to get the maximum points on it the first go. So I will toggle sometimes too with the setting of removing the points and just leaving the feedback, which is a feature that I love, because my students can tend to chase points and not focus on the analysis or the development there. And I'm like, no, we want to work on the thinking to get you there, not just points. So I'll have them submit it, and then I'll pull up some of the submissions. I might even write one myself, just so that way we can edit it. And I'll make sure that we're hitting the components of the AP rubric. Is what we said defensible? Is what we said referencing the photo and some of the details? Is what we said explainable and connected to those? So here's where I like it, because we can have, if all of us are all in task and on it, what do we notice? What do we notice about the family? Are they stressed? Are they scared? Are they seem hard on their luck? And how do we know? And then, of course, my students will come up with the beautiful details of, their clothes seem a little wanting. The kids are shy. The mom looks particularly stressed in her facial components. And if they don't have that in their response, then I'll say, okay, if you didn't include that detail, take a moment, include it, because we want to be specific, just like AP rubrics measure. And then last but not least, let's edit our last sentence of this short answer to make sure we know their family is hard on their luck. We know that maybe they're impoverished because of the clothes that they're wearing. Their clothes are not up to par. The mom is stressed because of her body language. So even with this do now, I'm starting to get them to think about the questions they need to answer, especially when it comes to the short excerpt from
Mm.
the story and the
Oh,
essay component. So a
mm.
lot to go through, but I like it because it allows for the media and I can connect this to the lesson that we're looking at.
So, all right. So this is an assignment that you had in years past. You've uploaded it to Class Companion. You send it to the students. Are we able to see what it looks like, preview it as a student from this end?
Yes, I believe so.
Go to the
Let
top,
me. Mhm.
right?
I think I could. Excuse me, but open it
And the
again.
question that's come in here is, do you time each section as you guide the students through the lesson? Mhm.
So there's a general timer, but I will also time the students as they're going through. So we have 5 minutes for the do now, submit it. And again, they have that love-hate relationship because they want it to be right on the first go. And I'm like, we can correct this. We can correct this as we're going, as we're discussing. So it helps me keep myself timed and helps them keep that urgency and timing as well.
So you're now in the preview as a student mode, if I'm correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
You want to give us an idea of what the feedback looks like? Are we able to
Sure.
test that out? And I will share with you too, in the course of really 6 months, I mean, it was well on its way in the course of the last year, but the last 6 months, the ability of the AI to accurately assess writing has just skyrocketed, in my opinion, especially in terms of AP Social Studies. And I'm hearing also in terms of a number of other courses, AP Chem. I had interviewed a teacher here the other day, and foreign language, Spanish. It's just amazing that there's been such progress with the AI in such a short period of time.
My students used to also, because we have a similar assignment for Frankenstein. I told them engage with Ditto. It will only help you. The more you engage with it, the better the feedback will be. And the real, again, seniors, they're just
Yeah.
taller sixth graders.
As long as you're at Ditto, for the benefit of those that are logging on here, will be watching this later, who don't know what Ditto is, why don't you show us? So you clicked on that little green icon down there at the bottom, right? That's Ditto. And what pops up? Can you tell us what that says there? Are you able to?
Yes,
Yep.
the students see a little pop-up that says, "Hey, I'm Ditto, your AR tutor. Chat with me to explore this topic. Ask for hints or get help. I may make mistakes, so double check what I say." I very much like how intuitive Ditto has become because, by all means, my seniors, they try to be as sneaky as they can. Sometimes they will just say, "Give me the answer."
Yeah. What does it say when
And
they do that? Yeah, we're gonna find out.
it'll take a couple moments. It'll generate its response, and as it's loading, I cannot provide specifics, but it'll start with questions that I like. So some of my students that are maybe disengaged, maybe their senioritis is hitting particularly hard that day, that are just like, "Miss, I don't know where to start." I like that it comes up with these starter questions. What emotions or thoughts come to mind when you look at it? And that's honestly my students that struggle writing, my students that are at the 1 or 2 level. I tell them, just what do you notice about the feelings of the characters in the text or the speaker? And that's just such a great baseline question to start. It doesn't have to be an insightful, beautiful piece of interpretation. Just what do you notice and what do you see in this picture? So I like that Ditto is also reinforcing that as well.
Do you leave Ditto on? You can toggle it on or off, or does it depend on the assignment?
It does depend on the assignment. If I am using it for a little bit more focused test, like if it's an essay, timed essay, then I'll turn Ditto off so I can get a measure of where students are at. But if it becomes after the test or like particularly through the lesson, I will leave it on. And there is an option when you're creating the assignment as well to give it a little bit more context. So I could upload maybe a little bit more information about East of Eden. I can upload my own exemplars that I want students to engage with, and the AI will help students kind of navigate there or kind of help students get to that exemplar answer.
So I know we want to see what the Class Companion's AI feeds back with student response, but before we get there, I want to make sure I understood something you just said. You're using it both for formative and summative purposes every now and then?
Yes.
Wow.
Every now and then I'll set it for an essay. Here's your Class Companion, and work on it. I'm very fortunate that my campus does provide us the paid version, so I can use Lockdown Browser,
Oh,
and that's very helpful, especially because again, seniors trying to be sneaky.
wait, that's news to me. The paid version of Class Companion has a lockdown browser now, or your school
I
is
believe
paying?
it
Okay,
does. Does
wow.
it not?
I'm
Yes, there's something in the settings. Please, if
yeah,
anybody, yes,
yeah,
the of course the paid version does offer a little bit more, but I think it does enable a lockdown browser for students to just work here and
interesting.
on nothing else. It does also have the feature to not allow copying and pasting, which
Mhm.
is also very helpful, especially because AI gets the bad rap of like students just using it for, strictly answers like like I just demonstrated with Ditto. But again, I like Ditto and I like the feedback because it doesn't just give the students an answer, it makes them think and it makes them work through it.
Let's see the feedback. We've started to put something in there, and let's see what that looks like.
Expression. So I'm going to go ahead and submit it.
Hmm.
Give it a couple of moments to analyze it. I did leave out the component about commentary, and
Hmm.
the rubric should give me a response like, hey, let's see where we can develop that a little bit further.
Tell us what you think.
So 2 out of 9, kind of low. It's a pretty short response, so it's pretty generous with just the 2 as it is. My students would see this and say literary device, but it's a photo. But what is the imagery that we see? Could we name the facial expressions a little bit more? I included haggard, but could I reference the furrowing of the brow, the touching of the
Mm.
face, the boys hiding their facial expression as well. This is a very, very general response. How can I lean to talk about the lighting, the shadow? I like it because by all means, yes, I want students to do this with text, but how do students recognize this with film or with photos? And how can they talk about imagery across the board, not just in short fiction, but maybe in poetry, in other areas as well? That definitely that area I need to improve on. Gave me the point for attempt at the an evidence and analyzing how it makes sense. How it I was talking about the mother's facial expression, but how can I go deeper? Why these specific details contribute to the impression of struggle? Why do we see her face and think that she's struggling? Why not? Maybe that she's just worried, or the worries of motherhood, right? Tying it back to specifically maybe the time period, because hopefully students remember this photo from their US history class, or tying it to those details that they know.
Hmm.
And then last but not least, connection to thesis. I started with an impression that they are struggling, but how could I improve that a little bit more? How could I illustrate the emotional weight of the struggles or the observation? Because this is such an important skill, I definitely need students to elaborate a little bit more on that thesis. What are we seeing? Struggling is a good start, but how can I enhance this to get the full 3 out of 3, to be specific and more focused with this?
So, overall assessment of the feedback in this particular instance.
Pretty spot on. Pretty
Mhm.
spot on. If I'm my student, I'm like, Miss, why do I have to talk about literary term? It's not a literary, thing. And I'm like, well, but you could still name the imagery. You could still name the symbolism. And it's definitely something I want the students to do often.
Let's talk about that for a second. There's a dispute button built in here. Student gets their score back. Have you ever had a student press the submit
Yes.
or the dispute button?
Yes, I'm laughing because I can already name names to faces of who
Yeah.
disputes the items most. And by all means, I like that this is a very non-confrontational way to dispute it. I think sometimes, in person it gets lost in translation when it's literally just, hey, miss, I thought I did a pretty good job here. Why didn't it give me that?
Mm.
And again, the more I interact with it and the more that I have kind of the conversation with the students over AI and with the students themselves, I can let them know, well, you did bring up this, but let's talk about it in terms of you need to name the literary device, right? Because we see that in the rubric here, and they have a rubric in their binder, and we also see it here, right? It's just improving it for your writing to be specific and detailed. How can we name the thing, talk about why the thing connects, and then how it helps our
Mhm.
interpretation? So it's a good way for the students to advocate for themselves as well, argue for themselves, but also a very non-confrontational space, especially if like I'm a little like, you
Mm,
really didn't get it, but here's a
yeah.
good conversation starter so we can work to get it.
Okay. Do you ever give any multiple choice questions to your students, or use Class Companion to generate any kind of MCQs?
Yes, I will. I can navigate to one, and it's kind of cool. I'm a big nerd. We finished Frankenstein a little
Mm,
before spring break, so we actually had one connected to Jurassic Park.
okay.
And so I had a
Oh,
study where I had students compare um, Dr. Frankenstein and the creature to Alan Grant and Dr. Hammond from Jurassic Park. So I had the multiple choice here, and I had students work through a couple of questions of comparing the two characters, and then just, of course, my nerdy self, Jurassic Park.
and so this was yet another assignment that you had, which you uploaded.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's try something. Could you, and again, I apologize, I want to cut you off. I'm just kind of curious, or redirect just a little bit. Could you go to the AI feature? I want to see if this would work for you. Go to create an assignment,
Mhm.
and think about something that you're going to be teaching, say, next week. I know we're getting to the end of the year, but what I'm curious about is if you click on generate with an assignment, and where it says objectives there, something that you're going to teach, like you said, I think you said something about use it as an exit ticket. Show us how you
Mhm.
might use the AI feature here to create an exit ticket. You taught it something 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Just want to see if students grasped, understood what you taught, and we want a few MCQs. Got anything coming up?
Um, so I do some of the multiple choice on the AP exam do feature thesis questions. So I'm thinking about how I can tie this to poetry and thesis, where they read a poem and do a quick interpretation. So I'll say
Oh,
I want a poetry.
oh wow! We're going to really push this thing. Okay, let's see what happens.
Let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
let's see.
I have a lot of
We went big
specifics
time
for
here. I was going to go a lot shorter than that, but okay, here we go.
I'm very much thinking the needs of my classroom and where I want my students
All
to
right.
be.
Yeah.
So I
Huh.
want a poetry exit ticket that focuses
Wow.
on multiple choice and interpretation. I will admit, despite I put it through a little bit of a frenzy of interpretation or creating or developing a defensible
Mm.
defensible argument. And you know what? I'm gonna start there because interpretation is broad. I really want that defensible argument. So I'm going to generate and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Might take a hot minute. I do love that it says facing the abyss because it very much might with this one.
I think so. By taking it right over. All right.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna have to be the one to tell us if this worked or not. I'm way out of my league.
Oh, Milton, which is pretty good. I do want to challenge my students. Okay. Pretty short, pretty accessible. They do know about sonnets, they know the structure. This would definitely be a good challenge for them to see what they remember about sonnets, the voltas, the change, and how does structure go into it. So very nice. The primary theme of it, which is kind of aligned to an AP question, so not too bad for the first one. Okay, which literary devices most prominently use? I will admit, AP doesn't ask
Mm.
questions similar to this,
Mm.
but I might leave it for the students to just engage with to try. I do like this specific question. So I got to admit, the first one, pretty, pretty on target. The second one, I might want to edit out and maybe say what is the effect of the paradox in this line, because that one would be a little bit more aligned to AP. But I like this one because it's talking about specifically the attitude change throughout the poem, and it is very, very much aligned to what AP will talk about. If my students are paying attention, then by all means, they should notice a shift in the poem. All poems have a shift. But I specifically like it because then I could also, as again, we're doing test prep, I could also work in the skill of process of elimination. So how do we know despair and hope works. I'm doing that backwards. How would I eliminate anger to acceptance? Is that a half right response? Is this confusion, clarity, relevant but untrue? I I like this with some editing.
Hmm.
Pretty good poetry choice. Pretty good question
Hmm.
alignment. And again, for this particular one, I would probably use this as another part of an exit ticket, or excuse me, in the same exit ticket, but maybe add an extension. How do we know that this is the correct answer? How did the process of elimination work here? So I got to give it to it. Not too bad. Not too bad.
In the social studies, we all have access to some very, very good explainer videos, content being taught by guys who, teachers who have really mastered the craft of producing 3 and 4, 5 minute videos. Is there anything like that in Lit or even in Lang ever?
We do have some videos through AP Classroom
Okay. Yeah.
that they created
Yeah.
specifically around COVID, and
Hmm.
they offer some good 5 minute, 4 minute videos of
Yeah.
explainers.
Do you ever have your students watch them? Many
Uh,
teachers don't. They, for a variety of
I
reasons.
will admit this is the first year I really don't use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe time to rework those, but I understand. So let's try one other thing, if you don't mind. Could we go
Sure.
back to your desk to your class dashboard?
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, and if we scroll all the way to the top, are you no the top? Sorry.
There
Yep.
you go.
Do you see up there? It's time for AP review.
Mhm.
Can you click on that? So this is something that was built last year, and few teachers know about it. Have you ever explored this area of Class Companion?
I have not, unfortunately. I've been so focused on
Yeah.
creating my own.
Yeah,
Really haven't
yeah,
had a chance to sit in here.
yeah, yeah. So look through there just for a second, and feel free. I mean, this is, let's say, call it a work in progress. Um, do you see anything that looks like, well, let's explore this?
There's two that call my attention. This one particularly for Dover Beach. I think I did have a previous assignment connected to
Mhm.
that particular poem, but I would like to see. Let's do nature's influence on narrative. We went over the romantic period when we did Frankenstein. So thinking about nature and how it can help, or what the students remember about it. Excuse me. Oh, actually, JK, it's question 3, which my students still need assistance with. So,
Check it.
oh, but you know what's still very much connected to Frankenstein. So, question 3 for anybody that doesn't know or is not familiar with the breakdown of AP English literature. Question 3 will feature a thematic or kind of open-ended prompt where it'll ask the students to think about a text, connect the text to the prompt, and go from there. I like to say the easiest one, or excuse me, the one that students can best prepare for. And this is pretty interesting. I don't know if it's maybe from a past exam. It might be,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
so far it looks pretty good. I maybe might make this my own and just edit these
Hmm.
books
Yeah.
out,
Hmm.
either to focus on texts that we have read, Frankenstein, Hamlet, The Importance of Being Earnest, or their summer reading, or I may remove it completely and ask students to think about a text that they remember from their high school career, not just from our teaching time together.
Is there anything else? So what we've done, let's see, we've seen how you're using it. I've showed you a little bit about how it might be used to the AI and an exit ticket, and then introduced you here to the hub, the AP Success Hub for Lit. Is there anything else that you would like to show us, or any other use of Class Companion in your class?
I mean, definitely that assignment that I just
Mhm.
went over with the commentary. I like it because I can edit the rubric for the short answer and for the essay as well. So students get some good practice with the small component of the essay. And then I have them at the very bottom put it all together to create the bigger essay. So I like that it does have the multiple
Mhm.
rubrics that the students can engage with and practice with. So they see on a small level, this is what I should be doing, but on a larger level, this is how it relates to the essay. Because I think some students also just kind of forget like there's the larger goal of, yes, preparing for exam with multiple choice, but preparing for the essay, trying to tie the ideas together. So
Mhm.
I am a big fan of the two rubric component,
Mhm.
and how it takes a small portion of the exam, like what I was highlighting, and can help them see the bigger picture.
Hmm. Well, if there's so, is there anything else you'd like to show us with Class Companion? Otherwise, I'm going to bring you remove this from the screen so that we can just chat for a few other questions I'd like to ask you. Unless there's something you'd like to show us.
I think that's about it. I'm pretty proud of that assignment.
Yeah.
I have a previous one that I did for novel questions, which is very, very similar. I can highlight that, but it's kind of the same thing.
Did you
I
share that assignment to the public library so that teachers can search your name and find it?
I haven't, but I'll make sure to do that after.
That'd be great. Yeah. Hmm.
A similar component, just with kind of the prompt that I told you about. Nothing fancy, nothing new, but just trying to get students to still think about what part of the AP rubric they're on. How does it help them develop their ideas? So I also introduced a question 3 prompt. And then what I've also done before is to vary it a little bit. I'll give them a thesis, and then they have to work towards the commentary. So practicing aligning their commentary and their evidence to a certain thesis, and then developing it so it makes sure, so they make sure that they're in the same spot. I'll give them the thesis, I might give them the textual evidence, and then they have to come up with the thesis and commentary. So I like that I can vary it, and students can work on these different skills throughout.
Okay. All right. I'm going to then bring you back here, if you don't mind. Let's see if I can do this. How's that? Great.
Perfect.
So, Victoria, thank you for that. Let's talk about the students' reaction, the parents' reaction. Let's do students first. How are they responding when you say, "I'm going to put some Class Companion assignment in front of you"?
It's definitely, I will say, varied, because it does push them to think.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
particularly my seniors, bless their heart, they want the easy way out. They want the scene. They want the fastest track out of there. They have a foot out the door. But the more they engage with it, the more I'm starting to see, like, the more I'm starting to hear in my classroom, like, oh, I see what I did, miss, or oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. So that helps me, because yeah, I say Class Companion, I might get a groan or two. But as I'm guiding them through the assignment, as I'm talking to them, helping them revise their work as well, then I hear the other O's of, oh, okay, I get it. And especially because my students are very point oriented, goal oriented, point oriented. Yeah. They want the points to get there. They want the full points, but they don't want to sometimes do the work to get there. So contrary to maybe some other people's use of Class Companion, I will take the points off. So that's just the feedback that they get. And it encourages them, to do just the feedback, a little bit more critical thinking and writing, and a little bit more communication with me. Because I think sometimes they use Class Companion just to kind of like, don't talk to me, because I just want to work. And I'm like, no, let's continue engaging in feedback, because you still need a little bit more guidance. Yes, the AI is there. Yes, it's very helpful, but let's not like shy away from what you need to be doing, what you need to be helpful with, or be helped with.
Victoria, at the start of the year, there was an AP English Lit or Lang teacher. I don't recall which specifically, and I do remember her name, but I'll just say that she, the editor of Edutopia, George Lucas's Edutopia, wrote an article about her, and she had made this decision to ban all AI use within her classroom. And then a guy came along, another guy who wrote something similar, that it's dereliction of duty for English teachers to assign work and use AI in their classrooms, especially for assessment purposes. So you went a different route, and I'm just wondering, have you heard of that kind of charge, criticism, concern, and have any parents brought that to you? Any members of the community, or why did you decide to go your way?
I will call her out. My best friend is very much against AI. Very much use it, finds it blasphemous that I do use it. And I tell her, but how do I realistically get all of my students to be the level that I need to be? And I I will admit, I hear that and I understand. It
Mhm.
feels like AI has such a bad reputation. And, when you say AI, people think ChatGPT, Grok, all of these fast, simple AI that still is developing and a work in progress. And it often, these educational tools like Class Companion don't get mentioned because of the large bubble of negative AI or, uh, yeah, versus the realistically pointed use of it. This isn't a general web search. This isn't,
Mhm.
the very silly ones where you type in something and it's a very wrong answer. This is very pointed, very adapted to education. It's not the kids getting a response from any which way of the web. It's a pointed rubric that a teacher has created, a teacher has edited, and hopefully engaged with a little bit more, developed the rubric so the students can realistically
Mhm.
see where they're at. And
Is it
I
is it just engagement, or do you actually feel like the students are learning faster, better?
Oh, no, no, no. I definitely see growth in my students' writing. I just finished up conversations about data. Our school is really big on that from their mock exam. And yeah, I'm getting after some because they took a nap during my exam. But I've realistically seen some great growth in my students,
Mhm.
particularly when it comes to like the line of reasoning in the rubric, where they're writing more substantial in their writing on this mock exam that they took, and I see them talking to their classmates a little bit more and not feeling like they can't keep up with their classmates level. My fourth period, for example, I have some students that would never engage with
Mhm.
this other student because they feel like it would be a condescending conversation, or like, again, seniors, they rib on each other. They
Yeah,
You don't know what that word means.
yeah.
I feel like Class Companion has given them some good peer to peer review as well. Like, oh, well, what did it tell you here? What told me this? Oh, okay, that was a good idea. I hear the conversations more engaging and
Mhm.
more better said, more on topic. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I've only seen my students grow. Sure, some of them could take it a little bit more seriously, but I feel like that could be said in any component of the
Sure,
classroom.
seniors in particular. What about your colleagues? Where are they? I mean, you mentioned earlier that social studies seem to have leaned in and embraced class companion AI use. What about the other teachers at the school?
I've seen them a little bit more interested in it. My biology coworker for the senior level has expressed interest. I think her hurdle is she hears AI and thinks it takes a while to use. And I'll tell her, like, hey, if you can dedicate an hour or two just editing an assignment and see where it gets you.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate that our students are very giving us a lot of grace, because by all means, when I first started, the kids, yeah, they'd grown. Miss, the rubric is crazy. How do I do this? But they've seen, okay, you know what, she's tailoring this. It's not just a strict you have to do this, and I don't want to hear any questions, I don't want to hear any comments.
Mhm.
My students are very helpful to me, telling me this works for me or this doesn't. So for my colleagues especially that think it takes a lot of time to do, a lot of development, they have to spend like a whole weekend doing this, one assignment
Yeah.
uploaded, even the import, because maybe the AI feels a little
Yeah.
too strong. That middle option, import something,
Well, yeah.
edit, see where it goes. The design is very intuitive as well. I don't have to necessarily go in and structure a lot of things. If I do have a qualm about a poetry, structure, because yeah, sometimes that really matters, then I could just snip the picture and edit it and leave it there. If I want to add other manipulatives as well, images, I can put that there. Links I can put there, and they can access like a Google Doc, and we can look at that together.
When you uploaded that assignment that you showed us at the beginning there, the photograph, did you have to screenshot that photograph and upload it separately? Did you just upload the whole thing as one PDF and it comes in
I
as we saw it?
I think I had to put in the picture, but only because my original PDF did not have the actual image. It had the name of it, so I would have had to add it in
Okay.
anyways later. But it still let me, reference the caption for it. So my students that recognized it, I was like, yes, this is Dorothea Lang's "A Mother's." Oh,
Yeah.
shoot, the title escapes me. But
Yeah.
the
We
kids saw it and they knew.
we show it all the time in A push as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. a lot of them saw it when it was on the board when they came in and were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, miss, it's that picture." And I was like, "Yes, let's get that
Yeah,
time frame, time cultural
yeah.
insight as we're going through this."
Marisol's popped on here. She wants to know, what do you hear from other AP English teachers, Lang and Lit, within your school district? Is there anything specific that has helped them? Which is a little different than the question I asked earlier. Yeah.
I see the share feature for teachers. Easy shared.
Uh,
We just share the link and we can edit this to fit the needs of our classroom. Um, it's easily shareable too. So even those teachers that feel like I have to spend so long editing this, I think a couple of other assignments that my coworkers have shared within the AP literature space, it's just a quick, okay, let me edit this rubric. Let me remove this question because I don't think my students can realistically time wise get there.
mhm.
I think the share feature,
Hmm.
perfect.
Victoria, I want to share with you what I'm going to be doing with this video and maybe also what I'm going to ask you to do later. So I will be presenting at this year's AP conference, APAC. And
Nice.
the top, yeah, it's a really nice opportunity. Last year I presented, I have a co-presenter, Dr. Milo James, who's on the East Coast. And she and I presented on how AI is transforming social studies exam
Mm.
prep. And we got such a great review last year. They've invited us back, but this time to show how AI can and is transforming all of AP, all, not just social studies. So we've been doing quite a bit of work, and believe we have some very good information to put forward. I think we're going to be able to really nail this presentation. But one of the things we'll do at the end of our slideshow is collect all these videos, that the webinars that we're doing right now. People will be able to watch them. I may even ask you if you could just produce a little 1 or 2 minute video that we'd like to feature. How are you using AI in AP Lit? And so what I want to ask you here right now is, other than Class Companion, but I'm assuming there's lots of different ways you're using it. And one of them I'm most curious about is letters of rec. That's what I wanted to get to.
Mm.
Do your teachers, seniors, where do you stand on that whole issue? Yeah.
Letters of rec in AI?
And using AI to help write them. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably. But let me caveat this. Let me
Okay.
caveat this.
You didn't think I was going to throw that one at you at the end here,
Yeah.
did you? Sorry. I
I,
had
I like
to.
I like the surprise question and maybe an unpopular opinion. Maybe
Yeah.
an unpopular
I'll be
opinion.
right there with you, okay? Because I'm sure, yeah.
If teachers need a little bit of structure to help them start a letter of rec,
Mhm.
because maybe they haven't written or they not writing every day, or they particularly want to refine it, make sure it hits the language or hits the particular values of a university, I say go for it.
Okay. All right.
Our I will caveat that and say that our school asks us to write letters of rec for incoming students. So we have to do a lot of legwork
Mhm.
to meet them,
Oh wow.
interview
Mhm.
them, get to
Yeah.
know them. And it can be difficult because as a senior teacher, I haven't met this group of
Yeah.
students
Yeah.
before. But I do like to vet this, well, not vet the students, maybe that's too strong of a word.
Mhm.
I'll interview them. I'll take a conference period just to say, give me, your personal statement, give me your resume. What college are you specifically looking at?
Yeah.
And versus taking a month or 2 weeks to
Yeah.
look that, I
Yeah.
will ask AI, hey, what are some of the values and beliefs of UT Austin? What are some of the values and beliefs of
Mhm.
this? And I'll ask it to share those values of belief. What might a student who goes there be featured as? I say go for it, but of course with the caveat that we shouldn't use it to the same extent like our students do, where it says, "Give me all the answers."
Yeah.
Refine this, improve
Yeah.
this for conciseness, improve the vocabulary in this. Definitely with very particular feedback, I'm all for it.
I've been writing my whole life. It's always been my strength. I'm a far better writer than I am a public speaker. I wrote a book this past year, published by Simon and Schuster. So I'm very
Nice,
comfortable.
congrats.
Yeah, but it wasn't with AI. I think it was probably the last book that will ever be written without the use of AI. But the point I was going to make is I use it all the time right now, and what I find is it is not a time saver, but it is a product improver. Meaning, I'll go back and forth dozens and dozens of times, multiple iterations, until I really get my voice and what I want, my thoughts, better than what I can do on my own, but not in less time. But not in less time. That's
I do see that where I've tried to have it like read data. Maybe it's just my lack of knowledge of maybe Excel or whatever I'm using. I find that very time consuming. But if I want to make a message concise, I'll ask it, how can I refine this to a couple of words? How can I make this a little shorter? Or even how can I improve my vocabulary? And I wish students and maybe those against AI would see that that has a more practical use versus just what we know, give me all the answers.
Yeah, copy paste, or prompt and paste, I should say. Prompt.
Yeah.
It has been really nice to have you here today and to hear how you're using it in Lit. I'm looking forward to hearing how the rest of the year goes for you. I wish you a lot of luck as we go down the backstretch, and same on the test, same to your kids. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you again for having me, Peter, and good luck to you at the AP conference. Excited to see where this goes.
Thank you, Victoria. Bye-bye. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.
You too, Peter. Thank you.